is going on YouTube. This is Acid Root. So this is part 13 of the Beef Ravioli playthrough as far as what's going to happen. So this is another frustrating type episode, at least watching it from like the normal type fare. Eventually when I pack this on, it's like the actual Beef Ravioli episode that's going to be like 45 or 50 or so minutes. I'd say it'll probably have a little bit, well, it probably will be just as frustrating because probably the first 35 or 40 minutes of the episode will probably not be that much progress. But I just want to get some more grind action. The main character Zone does level up in this particular episode, so some good type pitches to be able to get that here. Just me looking after within the fair. But the next episode, I did do some off-camera kind of grinding. I got the arrow spell, which is basically just like one particular off to the wayside treasure chest that's just kind of within the appeal. I forget where it's at, but I think it basically just has to do with like one of like the caverns or something like that. I don't remember its full balance. Just with the pitch, it's really you just have to fight one particular series of enemies. That's really about it. It's not like you're missing much. But I look after it here. It's within the 4 months. I did that off camera after particularly completing this gameplay episode within the pitch. So basically what I did, I figured the concept what I probably could have done, and it probably would have taken more time. I just questioned how many more episodes that particularly needs to happen within this particular fair. I could have shown like myself getting like the arrows again for Phoebe and being able to get like the bombs again for Zone, some of those type pitches, and going to the inn and like getting the seeds and the potions and the cure the cure spells and the refreshers and some of those type pitches. I just looked at the aspect as far as saying that probably would have eaten up like half an episode that I just felt like let's just get towards it, get to the final dungeon, get to the gritty of the game as far as what's going to happen now. Particularly, I don't know how necessary, I mean, you do get like the occasional odds and ends as far as what's going to happen with some of these type of ones from completing the battlefields, but I don't know how necessary it is to actually complete every last one. It's within the pitch. I realize within certain formats it can kind of happen, but it's not like you unlock any real new dialogue or pitches like that. So the concept of it, and really just me thinking about it, I was particularly thinking, I mean, this game is particularly kind of basic in terms of like the dialogue within it. I mean, obviously there's Final Fantasy games and folks and similar type games like Chrono Trigger and Secret of Evermore that have a little bit more chattiness just particularly about them. It's just in the pitch as far as saying it's just a good type fare. This one's just pretty straightforward. I feel like this is like the gateway type one within the pitch behind it. It's very much ripped out of like 80s type style, this within the pitch behind it, but a lot of these just have that classic feel, but it is time eating. I feel like the aspect behind it, this is just like one of those type games that would be played back in like the early 90s just within those fairs. That was pretty much something that you could play from like 8 o'clock p.m. until like 3 or 4 in the morning and still have like another 25 or 30 hours left to play, just not in one day, but just with consecutive days within the appeal. Now obviously within the pitch behind it, it just kind of blends the aspect. I mean, I realized the factor behind it, thinking like the casual type factor about this game is not as superbly kind of high compared to like Final Fantasy 8 or possibly Final Fantasy 10, within senses Final Fantasy 7, some of those type pitches, but it's just kind of the format as far as saying it does have the appeal. But I just look within it, it's just retro, it's this kind of aspect as far as what's going to happen. I look within the tone. I definitely would say this game is a pretty good gem, just within the appeal behind it as far as what's going to happen. It has its moments just within the pitch, just the aspects of just particularly getting towards it, just some good particular flares as to how as it goes, but this is back when you would see commercials for video games on television. I mean, I can't think of how many times just flipping on, like, if you live in America, flipping on television channels like ABC or CNN or some of those type ones. I mean, obviously more than just the news channels, but there's places where you'd have television. Really, this is not a game that would probably be on MTV or VH1 or anything like that. Music more oriented type channels wouldn't be on HGTV or Home and Garden type places. The Life Channel, the Animal Planet channel, some of those type pitches probably wouldn't be on Sci-Fi. Some of those, I just look within the aspect as far as just being able to suppose and stuff. It's just the aspect that, I don't know. For the most part, YouTube is pretty much the place. And even then, on YouTube, you don't really see terribly many games being advertised. I mean, I'll admit that I have seen the new Mario Kart game. That's one pitch that I've particularly seen. Apparently, I mean, just looking within the pitch, just within the pitch as far as saying that like Mario Kart, and I'm just kind of dicking around as far as those particular formats having with it. But yeah, the new Mario Kart game has been popping up within pitches like that. So I would say like I think the Switch 2 is really gearing up within some of those type pitches. I'm questioning how that's going to particularly really happen within some of those type fairs. It's going to be interesting to kind of get that. But yeah, within the pitch, as far as saying, apart from like that particular Mario Kart game, I would pretty much have to say it seems like just the concept of some of these next type ones that are being talked about is just pretty uncommon. I look after it, and I don't even know what really happened to Final Fantasy. There was a time for a while there. I don't know if Final Fantasy has kind of lost its cool factor or something like that, but they just don't really super commonly talk about those games. That's definitely a game. I don't know why it just feels like they cannot make like a Final Fantasy character as cool as Cloud or like Squall again as far as this pitch can have. I think that's the particular type factor. They need to do that. I mean, I just look at the pitch. I really can't think of terribly any real game character that really, like, I think the Fortnite series, I don't know who the main character of Fortnite is, but it'd be a good concept to get like some character, something like that, when you think of like Tommy Vercetti or Dante or the Kratos dude from God of War, some of those particular type folks. Solid Snake from like the Metal Gear Solid series. I feel like the particular concept about it, they need some of those type folks. It's just kind of within the fashion that I realize that Final Fantasy's kind of been around within the pitch, but it's just kind of the format that just between that and not seeing like these games advertised on YouTube. And that's the thing, within the fashion, I do occasionally pop in like some of those type of playthroughs on YouTube as far as what's first gonna happen. I'll watch like the occasional like Super Mario All Stars or one of those type ones. One of those type games just within the fashion behind it, Contra, something like that, just within the appeals. But I just, even consistently when I find someone who's monetized, I do not happen to find like particular games that just are really advertised just on particular YouTube. And you'd think YouTube being the number 2 website in the world, which if you didn't know, YouTube's the number 2 website in the world. Number 1 is Google, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying that it's just not within the fashion. So particularly the rest of this episode is going to be somewhat of a waste just because I kind of get lost. Now I do a tougher Battlefield. I want to see if there were like some later ones. I possibly thought about doing some more of these, but it's just within the fashion as far as saying it just felt like it was getting kind of aimless. Because yeah, if you notice that Zone particularly leveled up as far as what's going to happen, but it doesn't really seem worth it to I look after the fairs here, it doesn't seem worth it to kind of have this particular keeping on of aimless grinding as far as this. It's not like it couldn't happen. I realize the concept about it is it's pretty much not within the healthy aspect to be in a hurry when playing a Final Fantasy game. Since the pitch as far as trying to particularly kind of get to some of those fairs, so it's just within the pitch that, yeah, I would just say to have that particular pizza company or your nearby pizza shop just on speed dial within some of those type pitches, just get some of them. Obviously Pizza Hut, Domino's if you live in America, and pitches like that, just local shop, other places, Australia and Asia and some of these type of places, Europe, Africa, some of these type of places, South America. It's just within the pitch as far as saying, just within the fashion of it, but it's just within the aspect here as far as trying to get towards it. So it's basically, I kind of feel like within the fashion, I don't think that Zone's going to get to too much of many more higher levels past level 30 as far as those aspects going to happen. He might get to 31, 32, but Vivi's never going to level up within some of those type pitches, so it's just basically the concept of how much experience I'm going to get within some of these. But hopefully it's just within a relative kind of fair of just being able to get that done, because particular kind of conduct about this is, I do realize that this game has been on stretching for quite some time. I don't know what it is about Final Fantasy games. I always say I'm going to beat these games, and in most fashions, they're really not that terribly difficult to kind of do. It's just the fashion that, I don't know if it just has to do with the attention span, or just the product of just it being frustrating to the point where I just don't like sitting still. It's just the fashion. I mean, I embark on these games, but even when I watch movies, it's just nowadays when I think of movies, I don't know how, when you think of folks within those aspects, particularly when you see the end of the movie, that, I don't know, this movie endings in a lot of senses are cheesy. Even if you say that these folks, they get the girl at the end of the movie, the pitch is like that, as far as those formats going to happen, but it's just the conduct of saving the world within those particular type fairs, and then everyone believes the hero after the end of the movie because you saved the world. They thought he was joking and full of hot air at the beginning of the movie, but when he saves the world, then everyone's just kind of like, oh, I see your point of view now, hero. It's just kind of the pitch as far as saying you just look after it. It's just kind of the pitch that, I don't know, somehow Hollywood within certain senses manages to make it where it's not an eye roll type fashion, but still the pitch as far as saying this is kind of the format of it. This certain sense is kind of cheesy, but there are movies that I'll watch, like Harold and Kumar, just because that's a stoner flick. That's a good, nice one. I do fuck with at least Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. First 2 Rush Hours are pretty good. I own at least Rush Hour 3. It's not super common. I watched that one, but that is another nice one. Some of those type movies, trying to think of some other ones, particularly comedies within the fashion. Liar Liar is a classic, the Jim Carrey from the 90s, but I mean, I know I could go on a pretty aimless movie rant within some of those type fashions, but there's just some ones there. You just look within the pitch as far as saying, probably some of those Brendan Fraser movies are pretty good. The Chris Farley ones, obviously. Adam Sandler between like 94 and 1999 or so, up to Big Daddy. I mean, he had way other ones, but just in the pitch, a lot of those. Big Daddy was bombastic. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, The Wedding Singer, some of those type pitches. There's one that he did with the Wayans brother. I think it was like Bulletproof, something like that. Those are some good ones. Obviously, Jackie Chan movie. But yeah, just in the pitch as far as saying, I don't know. I need to get back to watching Bulletproof Monk as well. That's a pretty good movie. I was thinking about that not too long ago. Just the pitch. It's kind of what that particular fair could have. I was gonna watch that movie, just never got around to it. Probably won't. It's just within the fashion, but it is a good movie. It's just kind of within the pitch. But I look after just within the tone. So just being able to say some good type fashions within aspects. But yeah, this particular fair of this game is just endless grinding as far as those formats kind of happen with it, just within the particular format getting towards it. So yeah, the next episode is going to be, and it'll probably be tacked on to the beef ravioli episode part 9 as far as what's going to happen with it. Just getting to the initial moments. I'm not going to fight every single enemy probably on screen if I have to do all the beginning parts again, but we will get past the snow part and be able to get to towards some of these type pitches and get these last segments of the final dungeon done.